excited about an opportunity to do whatever we can to help you guys promote what you have there. You have some very special technology. We're very proud of it. We're very proud of the relationship that we have with Baptist. And so I'm hoping that today you can just sort of let us know what it is you're looking for. We've done similar things in the past with some other folks. So we have, are you looking for, I heard John talk about the blog. Is this for the blog or is it for multiple different avenues?
Yes, could be multiple avenues. That's why we're here, to find out, fact-finding call here. So.
Okay, and then I'll let go ahead and introduce himself and Sydney as well.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. I'm Andrew Hall. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for SLD Technology. My office is actually located on the East Coast, so it's the same time zone in Connecticut. And I manage the market channel, all of our regional reps, local reps, and also strategigic partnerships such as Philips. So we have a co-marketing agreement with Philips North America to help each other out in the interventional or imaging space.
Thank you, Andrew.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sydney Franco. I'm a sales admin for SLD Technology, and I also assist on a little bit of our marketing as well. So I'm excited to be a part of this call today.
Perfect. So I think Kevin started, thank you for everybody's introductions. I think Kevin started by just trying to get a feel for what might make sense. And I think maybe before we start that, I think for John and Carmen, Kevin or Andrew, if you could just talk a little bit about what's installed at MCVI from an SLD perspective and how we perceive that benefits patient care. Then maybe they get a little better background on what's up there and why didn't we go the conventional route of having 2 or 3 different trades sort of put up Unistrut, electricians put up lighting, people add all those kinds of things, and what this does for them.
So, Andrew, I'll go ahead and get started with sort of a higher level, and then I'll let you take it a little more detail if you'd like. But there's 2 things that we always look at when we're talking about the benefits of the system. One is the performance benefits, which are, I think, pretty important and significant. And the second one is the constructability aspect. So from a performance aspect, we have 2 main engineering principles that we utilize to help reduce infections. One is what we call zonal pressure control, and that is to create a pressure environment directly over the patient to push contaminants away from the field. The second is what we call IndigoClean technology, and that is a 405 nanometer visible light that disinfects the room. So it disinfects the air, but it also disinfects surfaces. And that's been proven now to reduce infections by 73%. So again, it's very, very significant technology that you have there. I think from a high level, those are the 2 most important things. In terms of construction and constructability, it's a modular construction technique that comes from the semiconductor environment. And we worked with Intel in past life. Most of my career was spent building clean rooms for folks like Intel. And we learned how to build these modular facilities to help speed up the time that it normally would take to build and construct a facility, but also to solve a lot of the problems with the organization and the coordination of all the different trades. We do all that work at our factory, so you don't have to do it out at the site. And what that means is we're working in a controlled environment. And a couple things to think about. The airframe itself is a piece of equipment that lives up in the ceiling space in your bars, right? And it supports all the equipment and working with Julie and their product for imaging. Imaging is sensitive because you need to take clear pictures. You don't want vibration. You want to ensure that the the gantry that's moving the equipment is stable and gives you full mobility with the equipment. Philips is a fantastic partner, and they've got a very unique product, I think, in the market, and it stands out most everybody out there providing the same type of equipment in a big measure. So again, not too deep. I'll let Andrew take it a little bit deeper if you'd like, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get into there's a lot of intrinsic value to what we provide in terms of the construction process. I mean, it is prefabricated, it's pre-engineered. So we are like a single source responsibility for architectural, which is the grid, which has the lights built into it. Everything's flush, like Kevin said. It delivers that high pressure, what we call zonal pressure control. It also is a HVAC element too, because we're distributing the airflow. So we have the architectural, the HVAC, which is the mechanical portion of it. The structural portion of it is also very unique. We use a tube steel framing system called HSS. It's hollow structural steel. And what that is, it standardizes basically the framing and the structural or lateral bracing that we incorporate inside the system. So we can actually build it to many different Philips platforms. So whether it be an Azurion 7 C12 or a C20 or a FlexArm, FlexMove, we have all these standard templates that can accommodate all the modalities that Philips provides to you guys as an owner. So we start with that standard kind of template, but then we customize it. So we bring in Stryker and Steris or whoever the vendor is. We're vendor neutral, so we can mount any vendor equipment up into the system. We do customization of the electrical needs for Philips, like the pull boxes, which is the cables, the conduits that go to the C-arm. We create troughs for those. We do many lighting circuits within the system. So on and on and on. I don't want to go down a sort of a engineering rabbit hole here, but it is a fully customizable system that meets the exact specific room specifications in terms of lighting performance, airflow performance, and structural performance.
I think the last sentence is well put, right? So you've got sort of an airflow, you've got lighting, you've got structural. So those are very key components to what's happening here, Carmen and John, right? So you minimize the coordination of trades. So instead of construction management at Baptist having to get several trades involved, you ask sort of SLD to sort of be the coordinator of what's happening up in the ceiling. So I think that's a good component of it. I think that what they're saying is also that the booms that are up there that hold the anesthesia and everything, that they take into consideration and put all the superstructure or the stuff that it mounts to already. Those plates come prefab. So the minimizing of time frame is big. The air exchanges, which are important for the environments going forward. So in the state of Florida, we have ACA, and ACA says you have to have a certain amount of air flow, and they take that into consideration already, and they're taking that burden off of the trades and off of construction management there. And I think that the Indigo Clean, right, that is now cleaning that room, and it gives you an indicator by color that it's telling you that we are now in the process of cleaning that room, and that's especially important as unfortunately we're in the COVID environment. So I don't want to minimize it, but I want to give you a couple of those nuggets that might frame some of the blog or what you're trying to do.
Thank you, Julie. I have a lot of questions.
Yes, you do, yes.
So was this technology forged with MCVI as part of the Philips partnership, or is this independent? Yes.
It was Phillips suggested and highly recommended that we do a test at MCBI to see if this would be beneficial for interventional labs going forward throughout the health system.
Okay.
I think that Andrew and Kevin would probably say that for a few OR rooms up in Bethesda, there was certain aspects of SLD that were used there prior to this, but I don't know to what degree.
Can you, sorry, Julie, and you may have mentioned this, or some of the team members may have mentioned this, but what does SLD stand for?
It's a good question.
One of our vice presidents said that it stands for Saving Lives Daily, which I like, but it's actually simpler than that. It stands for a single large diffuser, and the reason for that is because of where Andrew and I come from in the semiconductor industry. This is the type of methodology that they use to create the cleanest environments on the planet. And until we started utilizing this type of technology in hospital operating rooms, you were using a conventional approach that used, without getting too into the weeds, multiple diffuser array. And the reason that can be a little bit dangerous is because it allows for space between the air delivery portion of the ceiling, which creates a low pressure zone. Air moves from high pressure to low pressure. So anytime you have anything that blocks the airflow in the ceiling, it's going to create recirculation. And what that can do is that can pull particulate from other areas of the room and allow you to have this turbulence, preventing you from controlling where the contaminants ultimately settle. And we don't want them to get onto the patient or on the surgical site. And so that's where Andrew was talking about zonal pressure control. We create basically a piston of air that comes down over the patient and the surgical team that moves contaminants to the perimeter of the room, where they get pulled out of the room via the recirculation vents and back into the air handler, and then supplied back to the room. So I know it can be a little bit technical, but it's
so
a
this
difference
is done
between
while the patient is in the room.
That's correct. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know why I understood it as this was a lighting system that would clean prior to the patient being there, but this is while the patient is in surgery. Okay.
Yeah, so Carmen, it's actually both. It's a combination of, we move the air where we want it to go to move contaminants away from the patient and the surgical team. The second thing is, the lighting is always on. It's a disinfecting system that is in the visible light spectrum, if you look at it, compared to a UV, where some hospitals utilize ultraviolet light, but it's dangerous for people. You can get skin cancer. It can hurt your eyes. It can cause, create immunocompromised situations with patients. Our system is not harmful to people or things, so that means we can have it on all the time. We have it in different modes, Carmen, where while you're in surgery, the surgeons want to have a very pristine, clear color of light, typically in the 3,000 to 6,000 Kelvin color. And we maintain that by going into a low indigo mode. So it's still dosing and disinfecting the room, but it's doing it at 30% while you're in surgery. It senses when people are in the room, and when people leave the room, it automatically goes into 100% dosing mode, and that's the purple color that Julie was talking about that indicates we're in, but it's okay to go in the room. It's just not advantageous for doing surgery because of the color.
Right.
So we get, it's unlike anything else on the market in that it is continually disinfecting. Where other systems, you have to bring it in episodically. You have to bring in a UV robot, and you dose the room for 20 or 30 minutes, and then you have to take it out. When you take the robot out, you begin to see contamination starting to come back into the room again, and so you have to bring the robot back in.
And what kind, is it like a HEPA filter or some other kind of filtration system that we use to get all of those like microorganisms out, or what kind of filtration system?
Very good question. So, and Andrew, you'd have to tell me if they've opted for HEPA filters. Our system utilizes a HEPA filter in the ceiling. Some customers opt to have it in the air handler and not in the ceiling. We think it's better in the ceiling. I don't know. I'd have to look and see what Baptist has on this particular project. Andrew, unless you know off the top of your head.
I'm looking that up right now. I don't believe the HEPAs are in the ceiling.
As a sidebar, then we should talk about that going forward, because maybe we didn't have that conversation, Andrew.
Yeah, and Julie, it's a good point to bring up. We feel pretty strongly that HEPA filters, that's the point of entry to the room, and that's the most efficient method of capturing these harmful contaminants. That's capturing them. Now, you want to capture them, but you also want to control them. So people are the biggest contributors of contaminants. You have patient being brought into the room, you have the surgeons, and you have vendors, and you have all kinds of people going in and out of the room, even during surgery in a lot of cases where the doors are opened and closed. And the people bring with them all kinds of contaminants. We all shed skin. Those are called squamous cells. And those cells are constantly being emitted from every person that's in the room. Those can end up being a vehicle for carrying contaminants, microorganisms, things like that. And we don't want them to settle on the patient. So we want to control where the contaminants go, but then we also want to capture them, and we want to kill whatever's in there. So those are the three modes.
Was this technology, were we already going to have this installed, or was this because COVID happened?
Good question.
No, we were already going to have it installed. We started working on this project 18 months ago.
Okay.
But in conversations with Harold and Carol and George and everybody, we said we should probably start looking at the advantages of this type of
I got your picture, Julie. So this picture, does that show? It looks like that very dark blue kind of purple haze that you were talking about. Does that mean it's like extra cleaned? It's already like
that's
done?
In the cleaning mode.
Cleaning mode.
It's literally the color. So ultraviolet is in the non-visible light spectrum. And most everybody knows what the sun does. The sun, a lot of people say it's the best disinfectant, right? This is similar in that it changes the physical structure of the microorganisms. It renders them either incapable of reproduction, or it kills them altogether. Because of a light is a frequency vibration, let's say, and that frequency resonates at a point that it literally kills the microbial presence. So the purple light itself is what's actually doing the disinfecting. And there's different levels of it. Some of it, in the white mode, we mix it with the white light to give the surgeons the color in the room that's comfortable for them to perform surgery. And then when everybody leaves the room, it goes into the high-intensity purple mode. The more purple it is, the more it's disinfecting. So to answer your question, simply, yes.
Okay. And is there any research, maybe it's too early to ask, but do we have any research or any kind of white papers that talk about how this technology can improve clinical outcomes?
Absolutely, yes. That's a very good question. We have, in 2018, they finished a study that was done, and it was published in the HAIC, and we can send you a copy of that.
Perfect.
And we are, by the end of this year, we have another study that's being done. I can't tell you which hospital system it's with because they've asked us not to mention their name yet. But it's looking very, very promising for a viral efficacy, including COVID-19.
Okay.
So that's something that we're super excited to be able to talk about, but we can't yet because the studies have not completed and we don't have all of the analysis done on it. But that'll be coming out by the end of the year.
Okay. I had another question and I just forgot it. But I'm sure John has plenty of questions as well. Oh, I remember. I know obviously we're not the first in Florida because Bethesda has one. Would you say that we are the first in Miami-Dade or Broward to have this technology?
Andrew, I believe that's the case, is it not? No?
No, you're the second. Nicholas Children's Hospital has 2 NICU.
Oh, come on. That's my previous
But
that is so not.
They're friendly.
What we can say, though, Carmen, is that
That
it's
we're
the
the first adults.
interventional radiology room with this technology, and probably, let's see, even in Florida, I think at this point, isn't it?
So we are the only
Yes.
interventional radiology room in Florida.
Yeah, that's not really what the room is used for, so let's call it
Oh,
what
I'm
it is.
sorry.
True.
That's okay. It's an electrophysiology cardiology lab. So either electrophysiology or cardiac/electrophysiology. This room the intention is not to do interventional radiology in here. So it's those two disciplines, Carmen, that'll be done in this room. But
Okay.
I think to Kevin's point, it's not an OR environment, right? So these were typically used in ORs. Now we're bringing it into the interventional lab.
Perfect. Where in Nicholas Children did you install this, out of curiosity?
These are not questions for this call.
It was NICU,
Oh,
a natal intensive care.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay. Okay, John, I'm done. Julie has silenced me.
No.
No more questions.
You stole most of my good questions, Carmen.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I was confused at first. I thought this was going to be the OR suite for us here, but no, it's electrophysiology room, right? Yeah. It is not in the OR suite at MCVI yet, correct?
Well, we don't per se have an OR suite at MCVI. We have hybrid labs and we have interventional labs.
Okay.
So the intent is now, as we start taking rooms out, that each room going forward will have it. But this is the first interventional lab within Baptist Health South Florida to have the SLD.
There you go.
That's a good one. I like that. Okay. And more broadly, to the gentleman there, how long is this system common in other hospitals throughout the nation, and how long has the system in its current form been available to hospitals?
That's another very good question. It's actually fairly new. We launched the product in late 2018, so it's only been available for a little over a year now. Well, wait, I'm sorry, about a year and a half, yeah.
Okay. And is it in do we know how many you have out there? Any kind of number, or how many states have?
We could certainly get that to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
John,
yes.
question more in interventional labs or OR labs, or the combination thereof?
Yeah, probably combination, just to get the broader perspective as to how new and how broadly deployed is it. I guess that's the kind of thing. Also, your timing is pretty good, I guess. But since the pandemic, has there been modifications or change in plans or anything since the pandemic to change it in any way, make the air purification system or the lighting more intense, or any modifications since?
Yeah, actually, another very good question. I just finished writing a paper, co-authoring a paper that was published at AJIC, and we talk about the contamination control aspect of these rooms and utilizing this type of technology. As a result of our study, we came up with a new product that is, for all intents and purposes, called a wall wash. So we can have a high-intensity indigo clean light system around the perimeter of the room that's washing the walls because what we're doing is we're controlling the contaminants, taking them from where it's the most important area, the sterile field, and pushing contaminants to the perimeter where they're evacuated from the room. it's difficult to say how many of those contaminants stay in the room and how many are actually pulled out. So what we want to do as a result of, the COVID-19 has people are still trying to discover what's the best type of procedure. So let's say you're intubating a patient. Currently, the wisdom is everybody either leaves the room other than the anesthesiologist, or everybody backs up by 6 feet. Mm-hmm. And we're discovering, well, maybe that's not necessarily the best thing to do, because as the contaminants move from the center to the perimeter, they intensify in concentration. So as you get to the perimeter of the room is where we find the highest concentration of contaminants. And so because of COVID-19, we came up with a new product that we call a wall wash system, Indigo Clean Wall Wash. And so that's a very insightful question, I think. Now, that's brand new. It's not even, we're just now rolling it out onto the market.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Do you need a pilot?
Love to do a pilot with you folks, absolutely.
Is this breaking news?
The other thing that, the other thing that Julie and I were talking about is, and we've done this in the past with some good customers that were interested in doing a study where we would work with you and our scientists and your folks, and we could potentially do some clinical studies befores and afters and look at how well did the system do, and then write it up. And you guys have access to the papers, obviously.
All right.
If that's something that Baptist would be interested in.
All right. Well, I would be interested in reading those papers. You've mentioned a couple studies. You can send it to Carmen, and I'd love to read it. I guess we write the blog primarily to the health consumer out there who may be worried about hospital settings still, even though we've done a great job of convincing them that we've taken every precaution possible. I mean, what's the message you think the person who may be in this room with this system, what should they know? I mean,
we have that's another really good question. We have an initiative that we rolled out just about a year and a half ago as well that we call Design for Zero. And what that means is that we believe that every healthcare system, every hospital should have a goal of achieving zero infections and zero harm. I'm not saying it's easy to get to. I'm just saying that should be a goal for everybody in healthcare. Our company decided that we were going to have a similar goal where we were going to design systems to that end to help hospitals and healthcare achieve a goal of zero infections and zero harm. So we call it Design for Zero. What it would mean for a patient is if you have employed this system, then you are well on your way to being a Design for Zero facility. In fact, we've had some hospitals like Mayo Clinic ask if we could help them certify as a Design for Zero facility. And we're trying to figure out if that's our place or if that should be by another agency or something like that that's a third party. So because we're a vendor, we're probably not the appropriate authority having jurisdiction over something like that.
Right.
But we still think it's an important initiative. And I'd say that Baptist is doing all the right things. You're employing all the right technologies to make sure that you are providing a facility that is designed for zero infections and zero harm.
And just for a quick overview, I know basically this is a fully integrated system that can be deployed compared to what previously was multiple components, multiple teams of.
Correct.
And I guess I got the right idea there, right? This is a fully integrated system with the advanced technology in terms of the lighting and the movement of air particles and that. Do I have the right?
Absolutely correct.
Okay.
Yeah, some of the advantages that might not be immediately apparent because this is a product that the air delivery is in the ceiling and the lighting is in the ceiling, the support structure is in the ceiling.
Right.
It kind of goes a little bit unnoticed in some cases. But if you're doing that work from a construction standpoint, the folks that are working on that system have to be on ladders and scaffolds. They have to carry tools up and down a ladder. It's not very efficient. It's also not very safe. we build this at bench level in a factory in a controlled environment. So it's much safer. It's a lot more efficient. There is a continuity of work that extends to the quality of the product because it's a very repeatable process. And so the quality of the systems tend to be much higher than what would be field-directed quality. For an example, if you have a steel contractor, and this is not to put a steel contractor down, and Julie probably knows this because she's dealt with systems that were put in and field-directed, and if you're talking about, like, say, 16 feet on center from a mount location to another mount location, or in the case of the Phillips systems, the gantry rails, if they're off even by a quarter of an inch, it can mess up the whole system. And so to do that in the field is very difficult. To do it in a factory where we're using, computer numerical control, CNC machines, to do all the work and make the location points for the anchoring of the systems spot on. I mean, they're within 0.01